So the sources we're looking at today have this really powerful, kind of wild idea for how we should understand information. And believe it or not, it all comes down to a piece of fruit. I mean, think about it. We're just drowning in information, right? Headlines, data, opinions, it's coming at us 24/7. It is so overwhelming. So the big question is, how do you cut through all that noise and get to what's actually true? Well, the framework we're digging into today isn't just another philosophy, it's proposing something much more practical. It's like a cognitive tool, a mental machine for thinking, and it's all built around one really potent metaphor for reality. And yeah, you guessed it, that metaphor is the pomegranate. I know, it sounds a little out there, but trust me, stick with this. It actually makes perfect sense once you see how it works. Okay, so here's the idea. According to these sources, any complex story or event is basically a pomegranate. It's got layers. First, you've got that bitter peel on the outside. That's the surface appearance, the apparition of things. Then inside, you have all that white pulp stuff, right? That's kind of like the structural noise. But buried deep inside, that's where you find the good stuff, the juice, and the seeds. That's the essential truth. So this is where it gets really interesting. Think about how we usually process information. The sources call it rational thinking, and it's like trying to eat the entire pomegranate. Peel, pulp, everything, you just shove it all in. But this other approach, this governance technology, says no, that's crazy. The smart way to get the value out of a pomegranate is to press it. You systematically squeeze it to get that amazing juice and leave the bitter husk behind. Okay, so if we need a press for all this information, what does that actually look like? How do we build it? Well, the sources lay out a specific cognitive engine to do just that. It's called the Organic Quranic Methodology, or OQM for short. And this is the key. OQM isn't just a philosophy or some abstract way of reading. The sources frame it as a technical protocol. It's a cognitive machine, a press, with one single job. Take the raw pomegranate of any event and squeeze it until that essential truth, the juice, is completely separated from all the surface level stuff. This right here is the real game changer. The goal is to take this OQM from just a concept, a linguistic tool, and turn it into something operational. We're talking about turning it into a repeatable 7-stage algorithm, a kind of compiler for reality, something that anyone, or even an AI, could run to process information the same way every time. All right, so let's pop the hood and look inside this thing. What are the actual gears turning in this cognitive press? So it's a 7-stage process, and the names are actually based on the phases of embryonic development, which is pretty cool. It all starts with tin, that's your raw data, like throwing the whole pomegranate into the machine. Next is sulala, where you start extracting the basic essence. Then natfa, where that essence crystallizes into a pure core idea. From there, it gets attached to a bigger framework, that's alaha, and then processed into manageable chunks, or mudga. After that, it's structured into a real model, izam, until finally you get lam, and that is a fully formed operational truth that you can actually use. So once you run something through that whole 7-stage process, you end up with two totally different things. You get the husk, which the sources call as-sidq, and you get the juice, which they call al-haq. Let's talk about al-sidq first. Think of it as everything that's not the juice. It's the peel, the pulp, the whole husk. It's the surface level stuff, what things look like. And here's a key point. It's not that it's a lie. It's described as truthful because, yeah, that's what the outside looks like, but you can't live on it. It's the indigestible part. And then you have al-haq. Now this is the juice. This is the whole point of the press. It's defined as the deep, underlying truth, the moral reality of a situation. It's that pure, concentrated knowledge that was hiding inside all along. This table really nails the difference. Let's look at the example because it's perfect. The surface truth, a SID, is the stock market crashed. Okay, that's a fact. It happened. But the underlying truth, al-haq, the juice you get after pressing it, might be something like an unstable system based on usury corrected itself. Whoa, see the difference? One is just what happened. The other is why it happened based on its core principles. And the analogy is just brilliant. A SID is the icon you click on your computer. Al-haq is the source code that makes the whole program run. And that quote just drives it all home, doesn't it? We spend our entire lives clicking on the icons, interacting with the surface level stuff, the as-sidq. What this framework is saying is that real knowledge, real insight, comes from figuring out how to view the source code, the al-haq, that's running everything behind the scenes.
So you might be thinking, okay, this is a cool metaphor, but so what? Why go to all the trouble of building this mental press? Well, this is where it stops being theory and gets really practical.
And the potential applications here are massive. Think about AI alignment. Right now, we train AI on human feedback, but that feedback is full of our own biases. It's the peel. With this method, you could train an AI to press for the objective juice instead. Or take economics. We're obsessed with surface numbers like GDP. This approach would say, forget that. Let's measure the real health of a society, like its cognitive and moral development. And in psychology, our cognitive biases aren't just little quirks anymore. They're seen as bugs in our own mental machinery, flaws that this system could help us identify and fix.
What this all boils down to is a complete paradigm shift. Right now, most of our systems are built to optimize for things that are easy to count: clicks, profits, engagement. The surface stuff. This framework is arguing that we've been optimizing for the wrong thing entirely. We should be building systems that optimize for what we should be: more developed, more aligned with what's actually true. So that leaves us with a pretty provocative question to chew on, or maybe not chew on. If every single thing you see, every news article, every meeting at work, every conversation is a pomegranate, what essential truth, what valuable juice are you leaving on the table right now because you're just trying to eat the bitter peel?